Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing tonight? Welcome to another edition of Thursday Night Life Music. I'm your host, Louis Achenbach. I'm a jazz painter by profession and a music lover by trade. My guest tonight is James Sanders, and he's going to get on here right now, so we can get talking and start doing some stuff. I've also got disco lights tonight. What? Sanders, good friend of mine. This is exciting. I've been looking forward to this.
Hey, I like those lights.
You like those?
That's pretty cool, man.
Right?
You're always all about the colors, that's for sure.
You know, it kind of works for when I'm away from it over here.
Yeah.
James, thank you for doing this tonight.
Oh, sure, man. I'm glad to be here. You're one of my favorite people.
Oh, likewise, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. For those who are watching this tonight, James and I have been working together for almost going on like 10 years at this point. Probably 8-10 years. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that sounds right. Yeah.
I was trying to remember the first time that you and I encountered each other, and I think on my side of the memory, I think it was at the old Elastic. And
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
you know, I think maybe Michael Zarang was on that. I'm sure Harrison was there. Harrison Bankhead, the bassist. I could be remembering differently, but since then, we've gotten to work together a number of times. I've always
Right.
made sure that I get to work with you at least like once, twice a year, or else if I don't
Yeah,
get my James Sanders fix.
we've kept it going, and then we did a couple of the jazz occurrences in Aurora.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
remember that was really cool. And I can't remember the first time, but I think Elastic sounds right. That sounds about right.
But yeah, there's been some good. You mentioned that one in Aurora with I think Avriel was on that one.
Right, we did a Proyecto Libre.
Yeah, that was.
And that was, I have a poster in my wall. May 15th. Where's the year? You know how it is with these posters. They don't always put the year. 2015.
2015. That's
Yeah.
right.
And
That's a good recording.
Yeah, May 15th. And I think you made the video off of that too.
Yeah.
You made the video, and I know that some of the recording is the background music for the video. The David Weathersby put together, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, James. You were in the documentary he made and stuff like that. Anyway, man, I'll tell you what. It is good to see your face.
Oh, it's good to see you too.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, the violin girl joined. Yeah, she's
right.
Emily. She's killing it. She's on doing a lot of great stuff on Travel and Go Harmony joined.
Nice.
Yeah,
so the audience knows, besides being an amazing improviser, playing with Chicago Sinfonietta, I could go on with the list of what James does, but one of the things I like most about him is that he's an educator, and that he's, for as long as I've known, has been, molding the next generation of musicians, and that is so important. And I'm very proud of that I know you and that you do that. Thank you, James, for
thanks.
what you do.
Thanks. Yeah, I get a lot out of teaching. It's been real interesting too. Some of the interactions I've had with the students online since this pandemic started. And
Right.
I had a few students that, well, the violin was something they enjoyed doing, but they had full schedules, and with being at home and having all this time, they found real solace in their music, man. And it was really nice to bond with them in that way, and tune in once a week and spend that time with them.
Yeah. It really does sort of vibrationally connect us.
Yeah.
Even if you're, of course, teacher and student, but also, I don't know, I play like a Barry Altshuh record and I'm like connected to something he's been doing or something he did even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I love that it works that way. You know, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. I'm, I've been listening to all the Art Blakey recordings,
Yeah,
and that's amazing. You know, just if you don't know what else to listen to, just go through the Art Blakey recordings. I mean, there's like all these amazing cats came through that band. You know,
yeah,
and
yeah. Jazz messengers, man. So, so tonight, James, it's going to be like we're doing what we always do, which
okay,
is I'm going to paint on this canvas right here. And somehow in the next half hour, this is going to become something else than it is. And I'm going to be
cool.
moved by the music that you play.
All right.
If you want to say anything beforehand you play or just go, that's up to you.
Well, you know, I just want to say that I'm thinking about all the stuff that's going on, you know, right now, and
Yeah,
that's part of what I think I'll be kind of meditating on that while we do this. So
yeah, myself also. You know, we talked before. It's heavy, but it's also I'm excited about what's ahead. You know, it's going to be
mhm.
the tough gravelly road. It's going to be chipping away at a lot of freaking nonsense that's been around for way
Yeah,
too long. But as I was saying before, there's nowhere to hide anymore. I love that.
right. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
all shining lights, man. All right. Wow, James.
Wow, Lou,
Wow.
that's really beautiful.
Well, thank you. That was straight up storytelling to me.
Oh,
You
thanks,
went,
man.
you were taking me from, in my brain, I'm going, how is this a lament and a celebration at the same time? Just shut up and keep going. Um, I love your head, so, and I'm familiar with it. That's that's a good place to be.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you, Melanie. Melanie made a nice comment. Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate you
oh
being
yes,
here.
Melanie's on her own. She's doing some really wonderful things. She's a visual
Wow,
artist, and she does painting with music also. She also does tactile sounds from her canvas that become music while she's doing it when she's collaborating with
wow.
this other musician. Yeah, yeah, she's kind of like a couple light years ahead of me in terms of where this could go. Um, James, there's a lot of things going on in my head, and oftentimes it's nonverbal. But since this is a talk show of sorts, as in the end there, I don't know, it was like the 1920s or 30s for me, and I was doing like I was thinking about how the homeless, the hobos, had like symbols and stuff like that they would write to each other. Um,
Hmm,
they would sort of script on buildings or in the road or whatever to let you know like this place is, stay away from this place. This
hmm.
guy's a racist. Don't go near this place. This guy's got a dog that'll kill you. This is a kind woman over here. I don't know why.
Yeah,
This
that's
is just
interesting.
just part of the storytelling you're doing. I think it's part of the way that you treat your instrument too. Um, as classical as it can be, and as folk and fiddle as it can be, um, somehow you bring them all together in your style of playing. Um, for this particular thing, for the improv stuff, I also
Yeah.
know that you can really like stick to script and all that kind of wonderful stuff. But that's what I like about when you are these kind of things. You're allowed to do what I love to hear you do. It's intimate. Again, man, you just never cease to take me somewhere with your music. I appreciate that.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, it was interesting. Yeah, a lot of things were going through my head. Oh, thanks for the comment, Molly there. Um, that thank you. Um, anyhow, yeah, a lot of my mind was going to a lot of places. I was thinking, for a while there, I was thinking about like the folk music, the the fiddle bands, and and I was thinking about that, and then and then I was feeling a little sadness too. I think that's where you were talking about the lament,
Yeah,
and just kind of feeling my way through that. I didn't really want to have a script for this with you because I wanted to kind of come at it just with total openness and not have a plan, um,
yeah,
which can be a little scary, but it also kind of sometimes gives you a genuine situation.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I'm glad that we get to be in the same boat when we do that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I'm in the corner in the back of the club, you know, doing what you're just talking about, uh, all my lonesome in some ways.
Yeah.
But uh, but when the band is exploring too, and the band is allowing themselves to be, not fearful, but not afraid to go where the fear is, you know,
Right.
that's I don't know, that's powerful, you know,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
like sort of unashamedly, unabashedly, sort of emotionally open when you're doing it too. I would equate that with masculinity, even though some would sort of equate that with the female energy. But honestly, I think it's human energy.
Hmm.
Um, I can't really make a distinction there. It's that free falling. But as I'm painting here and as I'm making it up, it doesn't feel like I'm making it up. It just sort of feels like I'm portending a little bit, grabbing something that you and I have made,
Hmm.
you know, and that's the comfort in that was, you know, and then there's the comforts of going back to knowing, like, I know this guy. This guy's a good guy. I like this guy's head, like I said before, it's a sculptural thing with the violin too, and all that. It's familiar, and that's good. That's family, and that's home. You know.
Well, I've always been kind of jealous of artists because at the end of the day, like you have something concrete, you know what I mean?
It's true.
And like the thing that I'm doing, it's gone now, in a
Yeah,
sense,
yeah, yeah.
in a tangible sense. I mean, I guess you can always listen to a recording, but then you have to go through the whole process of listening to it again. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Whereas if you have art, it's like there it is, and there's some days where sometimes I'll fix something in the house and I'll spend an hour painting something or fixing, and it's like, oh, I did it, look. you know whereas whereas when you're practicing, it's like you're endlessly working on something,
Yeah,
and it's sort of this intangible uh ether that
that's right. That's
you
right.
know um
And Arthur Wright's here. Arthur Wright's there. How you doing, man? He's watching. He knows what we're talking about.
yeah.
Um, but there's also something that what you do, James, and I'll sort of turn this around of like what I would be, I guess, envious of, or oh man, I wish I could do that. Is that what you're doing gets turned into a different form of art in a way that visual art is a little more flat and static. So there's something very like storytelling again, and it's round, and it becomes memories, and it becomes uh, just a sort of deeply primitive sensory like smell can be, but music will um, stick with you, and the next day, even though I'll have this to look at, what it will take me to is your sound, and it'll take me to this experience tonight, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that becomes, like I said, that becomes memory, and I like to think that um, it becomes something else too. Like it becomes dreams, and then it influences other people, and they make art and stories about it. I don't know. There's
Mm-hmm.
it sort of gets larger and larger somehow. Or
Well,
if you
it's
know,
interesting sometimes when you listen to the music of the um, French composers that were living during the Impressionistic age, and you see Impressionistic art, and you hear the full layers, of orchestral writing that then kind of morph into a color, very similar to how Monet or one of the impressionistic artists would paint a lot of little dots to create sort of an overall impression. It's almost as if you sort of wonder, wow, were the musicians like looking at the art or the other way around?
yeah,
It's
no,
it,
I hear you. That's that can be said for some of the so-called jazz painting too.
hmm
Um, and those artists that were alive during the early days of African American music here in the United States. Jumping over to France there for a while, and
yeah,
basically sort of coming back. And the stuff coming out of New Orleans and stuff, and that's you think about that, how much you know again they influenced each other so much,
yeah, right,
and
right,
it's easy sort of like in a textbook way to separate it, and go, well, this movement happened over here, and this
yeah,
movement happened over here, but I do like to think that yeah, they were all like sort of hanging out together, even if it's and nowadays, think about it, there's kind of like no excuse. A movement will take off, um, and almost instantaneously, as fast as the Wi-Fi will take it.
yeah.
It's
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. When you really think about it, when you think about like Stravinsky's The Rite, the Diaghilev, and Stravinsky, The Rite of Spring, and Kandinsky, and all the art that was incorporated, and the costumes were designed, and everything by artists, and you really have a coming together of creative types of all stripes, to create one impression artistically. And it's hard to do that sometimes, when we're all kind of running in our separate little camps. But having the opportunity of doing this with you is part of that process, which is really cool. Which you could see firsthand.
Oddly enough, this has definitely hurt the live music scene, and it's hurting creatives, it's hurting musicians, in their pockets, and we're talking mortgage and feeding the kids and stuff like that, and that's really bad. And it's going to morph into something else. But it's also given, I think, people time to listen more. Even musicians, I think. Maybe that's because you're forced to. And students are too, I think. I mean, maybe I've been hearing stories, where you're, since you're not in the room with the same person, you've got to take the time, the pauses, almost like there's that couple second lapse where you're forced to listen to somebody, and you're also thinking about what you're saying, not in a way that you're going to talk over them, that kind of thing. But I was talking to I guess Ernest Dawkins the other night, and he brought up, sort of seeing this sort of coming, and also being, what musicians are supposed to do anyways is listen more than play. And sort of teaching young cats that is it takes a while sometimes, and this has sort of forced that issue.
It has forced that issue, and not only listening, but the art of listening to the whole album, as opposed to one or two cuts, hearing the whole context of it. If you listen to the symphony, the whole symphony, all of a sudden, the last movement of Beethoven 9 means something completely different if you've listened to the first three. You get the emancipation of the spirit. Then it makes sense, because you've suffered. I don't want to say suffered, but I mean you felt the struggle, and then when that moment comes that there's a release and an emancipation, it's very real. It's real in the most real sense, and I think sometimes with music, it's like hearing the context in which it should be and the entirety of it, and I think during having time to do that is so important. To really get the picture, and not just a soundbite, or your a little favorite part or something like that.
Or the part that you're responsible for, or I mean, I'm kind of assuming as a classical musician that you're familiar with the whole thing, not just the part that you have to do. Of course, you have to concentrate on that, but it's like you said, it's the part of the whole.
Yeah.
And it's the emotional content too, right? It's the, like you said, the build and the where it's building to or where it's going from. And unfortunately, I think these times, since the curtain fell in March, it's forced a lot of folks to sort of it's like a time warp. Like, okay, here's what it's like when nobody went to restaurants. You had to build your own house. That sort of vibe of what's important to you.
Yeah.
And I think people have gotten to that thing of like the basics, which are like your family's important, and where your soul is going is important, and whatever it is, stuff like that. But it's also like that art is important, and not in a way that is sort of like a hokey, hippy dippy weatherman sort of way to make you feel good, that art is um, I don't know, it allows you to express and to sort of see how other people are expressing it if you can't express it yourself. Um,
Right. Yeah,
it's
I
a safe
agree.
environment, you know.
I agree, and I see a lot of musicians and visual artists posting almost out of necessity.
Yeah,
They need to get something off their chest, and as you look at these different forms of expression, you know, you get to experience that resonance of what they're feeling in a way that you can't. You know, you can't really communicate always with words. I mean, I grew up speaking Spanish, and because my mother insisted that I speak Spanish in the house, and I know that even speaking Spanish, that there's words in Spanish that you cannot find in English, and vice versa.
hmm,
And these are just two languages. There's a lot of words that are kind of similar, but a lot of words that the meaning is just not it's just not the same vibe, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And that's just with spoken language. So I think, you know, there's a lot of emotions that we're wrestling with that are far too profound to always put into words in a way that will be satisfactory, you know.
yeah.
Um,
I think the art that follows, or the art that's being created right now, that we might not even know about until a little bit later. I mean, think about it. This is the Black Lives Matter movement it feels like it's a movement. Yes, we're starting with justice and we're starting with tragedy, but I think it has to morph. You know, it's gonna be there's gonna be art. You know, we're talking TV shows and movies, but we're really talking about art. Like people are going to
yeah.
be people are going to be expressing what it's like to be alive now, and there's going to
Hmm.
be kids growing up going, oh yeah, there it is. There's that line in the sand. There's that snap, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think now it's finally it's a I don't want to say appropriate, but it's like about damn time that a lot of stuff gets talked about every day and consistently, and because it needs to be, you know.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
cool.
know. I could, you know, I get this feeling in my bones that there's a renaissance about to happen, Lou.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it feels like we're at the beginning of a renaissance. And and I don't know. It feels like we're looking for some real substance now, you know.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people expressing themselves, doing their best to express themselves, and a few people that are gifted and are able to express themselves in such a way that it articulates what many people are feeling. And you could see that when there is a statement that is deep and purposeful and is the truth, that people are like, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, man.
And it's pleasantly aggressive in some ways too. We have 2 minutes, so we're a minute and a half, um, and that's you know, art is not only about making you feel strong emotions, but reacting to strong emotions, and then sort of like, all right, where do you stand on that particular emotion? Like, or what's your response going to be, or how's it going to, I love it. That's sort of like what do you have to say? Like
Yeah,
what has not been said before? Like I always like to say like what can you do that no one else can do? You know?
that's exactly it. Like, bring it on. Let's see what else there is.
Yeah, right.
Is it the same thing, or is it like, are you going to add, another level to this thing?
And I love it that there's a bunch of bozos going, oh no,
Yeah. We're gonna really talk for real now.
It's like, can't we just let things be? I was like, no, no,
No.
it ain't where it is, man. Uh, it's cool. James, this has been a thrill.
Yeah,
Just
likewise.
seeing you, Ann, and hanging out with you for a while. You know, what to say? God bless you. Love to your
But
family.
likewise, same to you and your family. And I love the art, man. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's yours if you want it, James.
Oh, love it. Yeah, I love it, man. I love that. It's
Ladies and
awesome.
gentlemen, thank you for being on Thursday Night Life Music with myself and my brother James Sanders.
Thank you. Thank
Peace.
you.